Adventure in Puntland on W4CY Radio.
This is the Pipe Man here on the Adventures of Pipe Man W4CY Radio, and I'm totally excited about, talking about this next song that I just heard that is absolutely amazing. So let's welcome to the show Solomon from Entropist. How are you?
It's good, Dean. How about you?
I'm doing great, man. And I'm all pumped up for this interview after listening to your song.
Yeah, glad to hear it, man. Yeah, we're really, really proud of this thing. Super happy to finally be able to share it with the world and whatnot.
You know what I love about the song? Okay, so it's like old school to me in the sense of I'm listening to it, and for a while, because we live in today's society, I'm thinking, is that an instrumental? And then boom, it hits you. and that's why old school was like that. Like people don't have the attention span for that the same anymore to get through like the progression into, it's like the build up to me. It's so much better.
Yeah, there's a lot of really paced out music. I do feel like, especially in the modern day that writing an album that's an hour long and having all these crazy songs that stretch on forever and don't use one or two ideas is almost irresponsible even. But it's really the music that got me here. That's the most inspiring songs that I've ever heard are these ridiculous odysseys with just craziness and technicality that also have a journey. The emotional dynamic is just the whole thing to me, at least.
100%. I mean, good example, not in metal, but could you imagine Dark Side of the Moon only being 5 minutes, the whole album?
Right. Yeah. Imagine.
That would be weird, And I love the musicianship part, which I think kids today, maybe they're getting back into it. I heard it's starting to turn around a little bit, but the way a
lot of kids listen to Polyphia, I guess,
Well, there you go. A lot of these streaming services, they just want you to keep hitting track. And I think we are making a turnaround to go back to musicianship instead. Because I also found out from an artist that they've changed the way you're supposed to write songs nowadays. Cut out the intro, cut out the solo, cut out the bridge, only 2 verses.
Immediately. There's no, there's no journey to it, right? It's because of how music gets popular, right? And there's always going to be this dichotomy in my head of music that people make for people to hear and to make money and to be played in, the coffee shop and the grocery store, whatever else. And then there's music that people make for expressive purposes, right?
Yeah.
And the expressive stuff can be anything from serious to, Limp Bizkit. But at the end of the day, I think that what I find the most meaning in is the latter category, of course. If it has to be designed for TikTok, then are you really still writing in the same way that you typically would? Or are you trying to write for your audience,
And that, that's always been a problem for artists since the beginning of time. And I think it's only accentuated now. Before it was the record labels telling the artists how to create music and look and everything else. And now it's TikTok telling you.
Yeah. Which, to be fair, you can get really popular overnight, honestly. We have a couple of buddies of ours who in a band called Cobalt Mountain, and their vocalist does this bit where he's wearing a cowboy hat, but he's doing these just deathcore vocals, right?
Nice.
Just over the top craziness, right? And he did a cover of Toxic, Britney Spears, Toxic in deathcore style on America's Got Talent, and some of the judges were I'm out immediately, right? Because
that's so funny.
Howie was I want to see where this goes.
I love it though, because all right, so it's funny. I have a couple granddaughters. They're Swifties, okay, and so I played them the I Prevail version of Blank Spaces. And one of them, when we went to the house, I caught her. She was in her room. She looked it up and she was listening to that version. I'm like, yes, perfect. You know,
Great.
you know, and you're so right about that because, and I think metal is never supposed to be the type of music that you make for radio, for popularity or whatever. And I think pop has its place. Like you're saying, like there's pop music for a reason, but not every genre has to be pop.
Yeah, I mean, of course, unless it's, unless we're trying to find music that's intended to be listened to by as many people as possible so we can maximize
Right.
profits, right? Like, that's it's never been the priority for me. I do want people to be able to hear the music and connect with it, but that's just because this album means a lot to me. It's about a really pivotal time in my life that, I if it wasn't for the other amazing musicians in this world, I wouldn't have made it through that. And if
Yeah.
we can do that for one person on this earth, then I will have done more than I could hope to with this, but it's really about a journey of finding yourself and
Yeah.
finding your place in this world and, building something that's, that makes you feel self-actualized and, that, I don't know. It's about creating your purpose, right? That kind of thing.
No doubt. I love it because I'm also a motivational speaker. So even the album named The Vision, to me, that I talk about that all the time, but it is true also. It's like, artists, they are expressing because they're going through something, but at the same time they're expressing because they want other people to know they're not alone.
Mm-hmm. Damn
You
straight.
know?
Yeah.
And that's what music's about. To me, music's the best therapy. It's therapy for the artist and therapy for the listener. And what therapy you get out of that is up to you. Like that's a song to me. That's a sign of a really good song, not one that TikTok says is a great song. To me, it's that song that basically anybody can. They don't have to have your meaning, but they put some meaning to it, and it helps them in their life. And they may have get a totally different perception of what your lyrics are than the artist is meaning by them, and that's cool.
Yeah, that's one of the most amazing things about it, right? Like the experience of listening to it, the experience of creating it are completely different things, right?
Yep.
Music is in a lot of ways very much a language. I think that isn't. I'm not unique in using that analogy, but one of the things that I think is the most profound about that is really that by the time that you've converted a thought into language, you've changed it.
Yeah.
To a certain degree, and then what the other person has heard has also changed it yet again, right? Because it's within the context of their own, their own universe, their own memories, their own ideas of what those things mean, right? And so when you start getting into like the abstract concepts like these, and when you start getting into the emotional, visceral impact of music, then it's just a different world for everyone, which is
no doubt.
amazing.
And everything you were saying is so spot on, and I kind of relate it to speaking a foreign language. Like,
Mhm.
like I go to Costa Rica a lot. I know Spanish, but I'm in my head, I'm thinking in English and then translating it. And
Sure,
depending on the different countries you would go, it's not going to translate the same. Like, here in the States, we're taught the type of Spanish that's only spoken in Spain. So when you go to places like Costa Rica or Colombia or any place like that, they translate it totally different what you're saying because you're not saying it the way they speak Spanish,
Yeah.
and I think it's kind of the same thing. It's like what you were saying, what are their habits, what's in their head that they're associating to whatever you're saying, and you're trying to translate something and it never really comes across exactly right.
Yeah, right. I think the way that you realize very much that you're still an animal on this, on whatever level, it could be, we don't have to get into the philosophy of all of that, but one of the interesting things thereof is that like try talking to somebody who doesn't speak the same language as you, and you're back to being animals, right?
Right? Exactly.
You cannot convey these complex thoughts to one another. You have better ability to communicate because you're the same species, right? But if you don't actually speak the same language as them, then you're one like magical methodology of transmitting your thoughts to somebody else is gone, and suddenly now you're just figuring it out in a
Right.
sense.
Like, because to that other person, it's like listening to a dog bark. Like, the dog's communicating, but you have no clue what you're saying, you know? But that's where
speaking like Arabic or Chinese, and I have no chance at like understanding much more than their tone of voice, their inflection, their expressions, right?
Exactly. And you know, that's where music is the great communicator, because I'm always fascinated by bands going to other countries, singing in a different language, and those people may not speak the language at all, but they're singing your lyrics back to you, and they know what it means.
Yeah.
And that always kind of blows my mind, and that's the cool thing about music, because music is universal.
Damn straight. Yeah, this is one of the really powerful things about it.
Exactly.
That's part of why I wrote this album, actually. There was a lot I felt like I needed to convey, and not just to, like, you know, the people I knew. I needed to convey it to the people who spoke this language, right? Like, oftentimes I'm asking myself why metal in a certain sense, because at the end of the day, metal as a genre, like just the sound of it, is very harsh. It's intense. It's emotionally like gripping in a way that isn't even for people. Like some people are just going to turn it off the second they hear a scream.
Yeah, totally.
You know, which is very fun. I was one of them when I was growing up, honestly. I grew up on like, you know, 70s, 80s music, right? Like the bops, the disco, right? Stevie Wonder, that kind of thing. And these days, then, like, you know, screaming is just another language I speak in a sense, you know.
Right.
That's just a way to communicate certain emotions, certain experiences, certain feelings. And also sometimes it's the only thing that actually fits musically.
It is a great way to get all your crap out too, because like people don't realize that things like the mosh pit are not about us hurting each other. It's about making sure we don't hurt anybody in the outside world and getting all our crap out with a common person, you know,
exactly. You know,
that knows what we're thinking and knows why we're there, you know?
It's the environment of pure catharsis, right? Like,
totally.
I've always referred to metal concerts as the church for me, you know.
Oh, no doubt about it. 100%. And the funny thing is I always laugh with a lot of artists, because we people think we're such scary people, metalheads, and it's like the farthest thing from, like, I'll tell you a funny story. So I had to cover like I go on tour and I do media coverage of festivals all over the US, UK, and Europe, and I had to cover 2 in one weekend once. So I had this girl that worked for me. She also co-hosts my show. She was a country girl, never been to a rock show in her life. And so I'm like, you're going to have to cover this gig. And she was a little scared about it because it was metal. And I'm like, listen, I'm just going to fill you in on something. Metalheads are like one big lovable family. You know, the mosh pits aren't about hurting people. In fact, we have rules, like somebody falls, you pick them up. We're a big community. You go to these country shows where there's a bunch of drunk rednecks beating the shit out of each other, and you're scared of a metal show.
Yeah. Right.
And I was like, you're going to go to this thing and you're going to make some new friends, and you might even find a boyfriend, and you're going to see that we're not as scary as your country people.
No. Metalheads are the chillest people on the planet, man. You can go and chat to like almost anyone at the show.
And there are no outsiders. There's no like hate on anybody. We're all outsiders on the inside, is the way I kind of look at it, you know?
Yeah.
And so here's the funniest part. She comes back after the weekend and she's like, oh my God, you were so right. I have all these new friends now, and I teabagged some guy and he's now my boyfriend. And I have this new favorite band. I don't know if you know them. They're called Bring Me to Horizon. I'm like, yeah, I think I know who they are. But, you know, it's proven over and over again. Like, maybe if you had an outlet like metal, then you would be a nicer person in the real world. Maybe all these other people that are assholes, they just don't have metal as an outlet.
Agreed. Yeah, dude. Honestly, I feel like going deep into an emotion is part of what music's about. And that's the hard part about music as well, right? The bassist in my band, his name's Jeremy. He's like way into like sad music, man. Like, he's always been on like Porcupine Tree and Steven Wilson. He's like on Ethel Cain these days, that kind of thing, right? Gazpacho, that type of deal. And I like when I was in college, I couldn't fuck with that because I couldn't go deep into sad, like I literally, the way, and this may be perhaps an immature way of handling it, and I would argue it was, but when I was younger, then like one of the ways I would just handle emotions is I would figure out a way to convert it to anger, and then I would use that and like listen to metal, and then boom, emotion solved, right?
Yeah.
A reasonable equation in a certain sense. Doesn't work for everything, of course.
No.
But I've actually only recently been able to start like, engaging on very different emotional levels. Now that this album is done,
yeah,
and I can listen to like whatever the heck I want, which is kind of fun.
Nice. And I love that all you keep talking about is like passion and emotion in creating this album, because to me that's some of the greatest music there is out there. Okay. And I also have to say it's very interesting. I was thinking about when it came to you guys. So I've talked a lot since COVID about, I think some of the best music what we will have will come out of that time of COVID, because artists got a chance to jump off the hamster wheel and create again, and like have that deep reflection to really create music opposed to just writing a song on a tour bus on the way to the next gig, and constantly, like, I know so many artists that kind of changed course from COVID because they never stopped to think of is that where they wanted to go. It's like they went that way and then they're just stuck on that treadmill going that way, opposed to saying, wait a minute. I think that's where Ollie from Bring Me Horizon was totally smart, because he did go all over the place. And the latest song by them I just heard is like their original deathcore, right? So I think, that kind of helped that creativity come back, maybe, because maybe Ollie was bored with doing that same stuff all over again, and doing all that other stuff created the excitement to come back. So to me, like with your band, basically you're like a phoenix coming out of COVID with this music, right? So I think it's the same concept. I think probably all you were able to basically reflect and finally decide where you wanted Entropist to go. Yeah,
100%. I mean, COVID was a really interesting era, especially for an
introvert
like myself. You can call it like negative in whatever ways it was, but it certainly was a time for everybody collectively in the world simultaneously to reflect on life.
Yeah.
What it means to actually be here, why they're doing what they're doing. If you are forced to stop just running on the treadmill, as you're saying, then you have to actually decide, like, wait, am I getting back on that treadmill? There's like a door over here,
right?
Like a window that way, right? Like, where am I going? Why am I doing this? Right. So you had a lot of bands that just stopped after COVID because they were like, wait a second, why are we doing this? This is too much. We got to like get in the bus and drive all over the freaking country all the time and make another album every single time over and over and over again. Like some of them are like losing money doing that process, and they're like, wow, like
and you're not even thinking about
I'm
it.
gonna have some kids, dude. Like, and on the other side, you're right. Some of the most like amazing creative music that I've heard in years is coming out like very recently, partially because people have had that time, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And the time to write it properly, but also the time to figure out what you wanted to write instead of just writing.
Yeah. That was kind of realizing the vision in this case, right?
There it is.
Like,
so tell us the vision of Intense Warmth, because I did get some intense warmth listening to that song.
Heck yeah. So the vision actually has two meanings in a sense. One of them is actually like in the real world, right? It's this band, as I call it, has always been in my head more of a project, right? It's not just the band, it's the community behind it, it's the artists that we have designing things, it's the fact that like everyone converges on this one spot. And we have people from all these different courses of our lives come and just hang out, whether or not they like metal. I hope to get more people who do, right? But that's, it's so profound to have like a time that you can have all these people from these different walks of life that you've encountered for all kinds of different reasons come out for the same thing,
I love it.
and that's really the core of what this is to me, at least. It's really about building up the metal community in the modern day, right? And giving us a place to be, right? And so the other side of the vision is actually about, I wish I could slap up never mind, I can slap up the album artwork behind me because
I'm glad you're talking about that too, because I was going to go to the artwork because
dude, this is actually the original painting that my wife did.
That's what I was going to bring up. Your wife actually did the artwork, and I think that's killer. And I'm all about artwork. Like that's another thing we're missing nowadays. And now, you have albums coming back, thank God, because like there was nothing. It was such a multi-sensory experience to get a record album. It wasn't just listening to a song. And
Agreed.
So I always love album artwork. To me, I think it's the coolest stuff because it definitely allows you to dig even deeper and kind of looking at while listening to music, you kind of like go into a zone, right? Yeah, you go into a zone of the music totally. Yeah. And so and I love hearing that was your wife that did it.
Yeah, it's so meaningful to me to like have gotten to like have her make something for this and then just like put it out there, and it perfectly reflects the entire first arc of this story that's being told. So like there's like the real story of like me just not knowing what I wanted to be and how I was supposed to function in society and if I even wanted to be here in the first place, right? And eventually coming out of that, right? But it's also about like this huge fantastical story that I've been writing for like the last decade, right? That has like angels and demons, and this particular moment that you see in the album artwork is actually essentially an all-consuming entity, simply referred to as the void, which you'll hear more about in the song "I Hunger." I'm really excited for people to hear that one. It's like super heavy.
Nice.
But nice. Basically, the story starts in a dilapidated version of hell, kind of in the modern day, and I didn't rehearse this part, so like I'm gonna try to not meander too much. But there is this demon in there who has kind of seen the collapse over the past several hundred years, and instead of just like burning hellscapes and volcanoes and everything that you'd imagine, like infinite waves of torture machines, right? Instead, it's almost chill, relatively speaking. Everything has been reduced to simply an intense warmth, right? Nice. Trees have begun to grow there. They immediately get incinerated, but they are still there, which has never been seen before. And he's not happy. He remembers the old days. He wants to essentially return things to the hell of old, where like simply the mention of its name would strike terror into people's hearts, right? And he kind of ends up like, leaving his society, wandering out in the middle of nowhere, pretty much. And he is given a vision by the void, which is in the form of the void actually like speaking to him, so to speak. It's not like an entity with a mouth or anything, but right. I Hunger is supposed to be essentially a representation of the voice of the void itself.
Nice.
Speaking in his head. And the power of this thing is so monumental that it's consuming all that exists, all that doesn't as well, right? Like it's going to consume our entire universe. It's going to consume hell eventually. It's going to consume heaven. It's going to consume everything. It is the breakdown of the very fundamental laws that hold things together, both real and celestial, right?
I love it.
And Like when he hears its voice, it actually basically shatters in his mind, and it like makes him pass out in the middle there for like centuries. And when he comes to, then suddenly he's resolute in what he's doing next, and his focus is on Earth. And there's one more to the story. I'm only going to reveal that much, but that's kind of the first arc of this story, right?
I love it.
Choosing that he's going to summon this void.
And I think another thing about your wife doing the artwork is who better to do it but somebody that kind of knows you probably better than anybody and probably can paint the picture better than anybody because of that, you know, the vision, so to speak. Because it is like, it's funny. My dad was an artist, and I have one painting in my condo of his that basically I see something very different than everybody else sees because I knew him. And like in this painting, I can see the darkness of his personality. I can see his dark side. And people just see a pretty picture most of the time. And if I say that to them, they're like, what are you talking about? And that's because they didn't know what was going through his mind when he was painting it, you know, type of thing. And I think that's key. That's the same thing here is, you know, your wife knew what was going through your mind and what you've experienced, that she had the vision of how to paint the vision.
Yeah, 100%. Brilliant.
Right? There you go.
Yeah.
So tell everybody how they can check out the new music. Of course, we have the full-length album, The Vision, dropping tomorrow.
Yeah, Friday, the 26th.
Yep. And so let's tell everybody how they can get it, how they can check out everything about you guys and support you guys, or else they can't listen to my show.
Check us out. We are Entropist Band on almost everything: Bandcamp, YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, Facebook, you name it. The Vision will be available on all streaming platforms, like from, you know, Spotify to Deezer to Tidal to Qobuz to whatever, the iHeartRadio to everything.
Nice.
So yeah, we're super excited to be sharing this with the world. This thing is a prog metal monster. At risk of tooting my own horn, check out at least the longest song that you're willing to check out, because there's some unexpected stuff in this thing.
I love it. And you know what? If you weren't your biggest fan, we can't be your biggest fan. So I don't even look at it as tooting your own horn, because if you don't think it's a masterpiece, who else is going to? So
that's fair. Yeah, I think it's a freaking baller album, man. There's so many crazy headbanging parts. There's some cool like proggy stuff. There's some jazzy elements. There's like an instrumental song on there that I think that is a lot of people's individual favorites. Everyone has come back to me saying that they have a different song is their favorite song, and that
I love that.
Me is a good, you know.
That says a lot, and I like the blending of genres. Like, used to be metal, you had to be pure. You were either this type of metal or that type of metal. It's all bullshit, because like the way you get some unique, long-lasting music, no matter what it is it not being able to be put in a box.
Mm-hmm. And every time someone asks me to do so, I'm struggling. So now I don't have to try to explain it to people. I can just say, give it a listen.
There it is. Like I think nowadays the whole idea of genres is bullshit, because there's so many subgenres and microgenres, and it's like, really? Like it's
genre implies that there's rules, man.
Exactly. And music's not supposed to have rules, you know? And to me, the whole idea of metal, you know, coming from the beginning of metal, was experimentation, not formulation. And it's like almost now with all these subgenres and microgenres, a lot of metal is formula driven. And so that's what I love about your music, because it took me on a journey, and that's what music should do.
Heck yeah, man.
So you keep doing it.
Everyone enjoys experiencing the journey. Yeah.
Exactly. You keep doing it. And thanks for being on the Adventures of Pipe Man.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, man. It's been a great chat.
Definitely.
Thank you for listening to the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.